Hey guys, this is Crap Hunter. Welcome to patch 8.8. Woo! Now, today we're going to be having our own little first impressions of the patch 8.8, looking at its looking at its high points, its low points, and in this episode some controversial points. This episode will primarily be talking, so what I'll be doing is for a second half of this, we'll be playing the so-called, well, the changed tanks, alright? We'll put it at that, because I'm trying to be as objective as possible. You know, so we'll try and keep this as objective and as... Well, okay, my personal opinion is going to be coming in at some points, but we'll try and keep this as professional as possible. So what's going to be happening is this one, we're going to be talking about the new features, you know, and talking about the controversial aspects and what I think about them. We're also going to be talking about the new setup with the service record and the missions. Generally speaking, that's what we're going to be doing on that one. So for all of you guys out there for Blood, Guts and Gory, there is going to be a video on that, but just the next one along. This is for the those who just want to listen to me talk for a while. So thank you very much for catching on to this video. Hope you get into the next one. Hope you enjoy the next one, and I'll see you next time. Does very nice smile. Are they gone? Are all the action bloodhounds gone? Okay then. Good, let's get some civilization in here. Now, so okay, so this is patch 8.8. There's a bunch of new changes, some of which are controversial. No doubt you'll know. We'll go on to that in a few minutes' time. But most of these are they're pretty good actually. The patch, I've been looking over the patch notes. I had a sneak peek just so I could know what I'm talking about without, whereas I don't want to go, hey guys, here's the video, and I can't tell any differences. That would be the worst thing for me to do. So I had to have a little look. Sorry. And, well, first of all, let's have a look at what you first see that's new. Well, one of which, well, two things really. One of which you can see quite easily. This is the missions. This is basically, I've already had a number of games of them, as you can tell. And as missions basically are showing all the things that you can do for a bit of a reward. So, for example, here I need to win 15 random battles in 24 hours. Per 24 hours, so there you go. And basically what this means is if I can win 2 more battles, I get 250,000 credits, which is quite nice. It's not a very difficult one to do, well, depending on the day, but some of them are pretty difficult to do. For example here, receive one of the highest 3 experience scores amongst the players on both teams, which basically means crew experience coefficient 1.2, or basically there's an increase in the experience that your crew gain. Mission for September, I'm about halfway through, score 50,000 EXP within 24 hours. Progress in this will be zeroed out automatically at 5 UTC. So generally speaking, it's just do as much as you can, play as much as you can. Like if I'd started, I probably could have finished it by now, but I'm not too particularly fussed. There's other stuff like fighting vehicles from the list, win 10 battles within 24 hours fighting in any of these vehicles. Beware of the flankers, I think it is destroy. Yes, destroy 50 vehicles from this list. So, and as you can see here, improve ventilation class 2 ×1, and get some premium ventilation, which is quite nice. So yes, you know, all that kind of stuff all works out, which is quite pleasant. And, you know, it's just general, and I'm assuming as the days go by and as the patches come up or events that come up, this probably will become improved, maybe have even better stuff. This one, I believe, is... Oh, Subsequence. Will be available 1st of October. I think this is basically the thing that you've got at the subsequent one. Whatever. So, there you go. Some new missions for you, which basically make World of Tanks more interesting. Actually makes it nicer to grind on. Because, you know, being able to play stuff like this and not have to worry about A, B, C, and D is so relieving. Oh, Jesus Christ. Because normally when it comes to grinding certain tanks, it becomes frickin' frustrating as hell. Now, it's not going to make it stupidly easy, but what this might be able to do is maybe for special events, it might be able to give you gold rewards, which then I could spend, if you were good enough, or if I was good enough, I could spend on getting some experience so I could grind through this a little quicker. You know, stuff like that, which makes it handy. So let's have a look at the second thing that you want to be that you'll be able to do. Wargaming have updated the service record. Here is my service record. Yes, it's a little bit crap, but I've done some things I'm proud of. you know, there you go. So I have done stuff. I'm quite proud of it. There is my stats. So I'm not taking this opportunity to say, oh, I'm better than all of you. But, you know, why not? No. This is just basically how it is, though. This is the summary part of it, which actually highlights all the stuff that I guess are like the biggest things in your book, like my series. Jesus Christ. Forgotten, actually. There's a few things I actually completely forgot about this. Jeez. But no, this basically is a lot more updated style. So you can see I've got a few epic medals, a few group awards, commemorative tokens. Don't know what that one is. Probably the beta. No. Huh. Anyway, you know, cool-headed, commemorative stage awards, which I think is just making stuff. Currently on 2 on everything, which is intriguing. But yeah, and then you get your statistics. So, for example, the amount of hits you've got, victories we've had. So I'm like 52.83, which is quite nice. Enemies destroyed. I've killed 3,000 enemies, and I've died 2,000 times. No thanks to some rather shitty teams. My damage overall I've done 2 million. I've nearly done the same and received. Oh boy, I was a crap player at points. Heavies by type, as you can tell, I'm very much a heavy player. Of course, Deutschland. I like this, though. This I only recently discovered. I'm really, really hoping this comes in, because now that is that is the most subtlest of hints I can see. You wouldn't know about it. You know what? Some people may even pass through this patch, not even caring about this service record. But when you see that, that is encouraging. Oh yes. As you can see, the most tier battles I've had so far is in my tier 5. I've yet to have a battle in a tier 10. But as you can see, I have a fair I'm in pretty much in the center, apart from tier 6 and 7. So you can see I'm not like going crazy with that. And that's mainly around this level, mainly because I've hung around with friends. They've been going on to World of Tanks, so I've gone back down onto World of Tanks, that sort of thing. And finally, you get your choice of vehicles, and this is how it used to be, and it just highlights all the things you've got. So and it goes by amount of battles I've had. So the Tiger II has had the most battles. I get the most. I got the average experience. Well, of course, that would be that. But for battles, pretty darn good. Pretty good on that one. Quite enjoying that. I think you get award. You also show those the awards you've got. So on this one, I've got a shit ton. I think my Tiger's got a Top Gun in there. Oh, twice as well. Where was the one that got 8 kills? I know I got 8 kills in this thing once. But anyway, so yeah, this is all the things that you can see in your service record, which is quite nice. I quite like this new version. It's quite pleasant. Anyway, so back to Garage. So there's the first 2 things you'll notice. The second thing, which probably more people will notice than anyone else, will be the new Russian medium tanks. They go from the T30. They start from the T-34 and end at the Object 140. Now, if we go from the T-34's perspective, let's go to the A43. Now, one thing I have heard of is that this thing is quite similar to the T-34. Rumour has it that it was actually pretty much the same thing. Oh yes, to replace the T-34, the A43 was conceived to feature a torsion bar suspension, a B5 engine, enhanced 16%, but this looks really shit. There isn't many differences, are there? There aren't many differences. Obviously, you get an upgrade from the health. The engine power, of course, is better. Speed limit is actually worse. Traverse speed is better. Armor-wise, of course, is better, but not by much. Rate of fire, much faster. Jesus Christ. But that said, that's using a 76 mil. This one's probably using a 57. View range is much better. Signal range is much better, but you can get that engine. Gun selection is absolutely god-awful. I can imagine that's pretty nasty. That is pretty bad. A tier 5 gun on a tier 6 tank is never a good sign. So I imagine this thing is probably not going to be very useful to anyone. Let's go on to the A44. So, once again, you start out pretty much the same. Let's have a look at this tank, see what it goes for. This project was built in engineer IS. Ooh, but in 1941, the vehicle was to be manufactured, different in different armor, armament, combat weight, speed. Prototype was scheduled to be built by 42. However, the project was continued due to the outbreak of the Soviet-German War, or as Russia would say, the Great Patriotic War, which was kind of stupid, but whatever. So let's have a look. Oh, wrong again. So let's have a look at the stats of this thing. 1,000 hit points at 1,000. Oh, that's pretty good, actually. 1,000 hit points is quite good. I'll do you a fair amount of combat. Obviously, you're not meant to take a punch, but still. 36 tons, okay, engine power. Very good speed, very good traverse. What? 150 on the front? That's bloody good. And it looks angled as well. I mean, of course, it's absolutely garbage on the sides and rear, but 150 at the front? Seriously? That's a bit powerful. 75 to the thing, but you can upgrade the turret, so I imagine it's going to be a little better. 90. So 90 on all sides plus 100. That's quite a lot, and it looks bounceable. It looks very bounceable. View range is better, of course. Signal range is 325, but you can have 525. So the radio is quite a disadvantage. What's the tier 7 one? Oh, actually, I forgot the gun. Same armament, and this gun, which has 107 millimeters, which isn't too bad. 7 rounds average, 167 pen. Oh my days, that's a lot of damage. Oh, holy shit. Ha ha ha. Oh boy. That's a lot. Yeah, that's very powerful. Oh, Jesus Christ, this thing's better than the bloody IS gun. Okay, how fast is this tank? How powerful is this gun? How well armoured is the front? Are you trying to sneak a very powerful Russian tank in again and claim to say that the Russians don't get any fun? Are you doing that again, Wargaming? Are you trying to make it that Russia's the best thing in the world? Are you? Come on now, don't lie to me. You overpowering scumbags, you. I caught on. You thought you could sneak in a powerful Russian tank, but I caught on. It probably has some very disastrous flaw to it. Probably has a limited arc of fire, and has as it's a rear-facing turret. It's probably going to be difficult to aim, but still, 107 millimeters worth of 107 should not cause 300 damage. I mean, there's 105 mil gun, which does like what? Then let's have a look at, well, anyway, let's look at the other tank, the Object 416. So it follows in the footsteps of the previous tank. It starts out with a 100mm gun, and this one does 250, and actually has the same pen as the D25T. 250 damage, rather crap accuracy. Well, actually, no, very good accuracy, actually. Once again, long aiming time, but that's not too bad. What's the frontal armor of this thing? Well, the health points wise, it's only 100 up, but then I imagine that will probably make it to 1200, maybe even more. Yes, this armor's very shit. But it looks very bounceable on the turret, and it's probably going to be very good at being hulled down. Something tells me about this tank that it's going to be very hulled downness. Yeah, 110 on the front, 60 to the sides, 45 to the rear. What about this one? 175 to the sides and 45 to the rear, so that's going to be very bounceable. View range is actually 370, that's pretty good, and its signal range is automatically at 525. And it somehow gets 2 tier 10 radios. That's a bit crazy. 760! Shit! We don't even have to worry about upgrading the engine. Jeez. And then it goes to the T-54, which then has the option of going to the Object 140. Now, we'll just get this vehicle stats, because I have heard that these two vehicles share very, very similar traits. And in fact, rumour has it that they're practically the same tank. So, let us discover this then, shall we? Medium tank T-62A, medium tank that. Well, hit points wise, the T62 has got 1 pointer up, 50 points. I know some in tier 10 medium battles it doesn't. Some people would say, oh, it's only 50 at a tier 9, 10, but really every hit point counts. The 140 weighs less, has the same engine and horsepower, but it weighs 1 ton less. So basically, it's got 5 miles per hour faster. It can traverse not as fast as the T62A. The frontal hull armor of the T62A is better, but the side and rear are much better for the Object 140. The turret is much better for the Object 140, except for the rear. Same damage. Turret traverse speed is much better on the T62A, and the view range is the same, and the signal range is better for the T62A. So really, this is more armoured and has better hit points. Well, not better hit points, but this has more armour, whereas this one just has better hit points. They used the same gun, if I'm not mistaken, so let's have a look. See, UTS, is it the same gun? Yeah, the same gun on the Object 140. We'll go on to this one. Is it the same? Yes, it is. So the U8 at TS is pretty much the same gun here, does the same amount of damage, so in a sense they're both the same tank. Okay, fair enough, Wargaming, we'll accept that, but it's a little bit weird. Okay. Well, you know, if Wargaming wants to try something like that, fair enough to it. I can imagine it's just a bit confusing why you would have the tank with the same... I mean, the only difference in experience is you only have to earn 6,000 more experience than you would with that tank, and you get a more armoured variant. Maybe if you like the T62A but just don't like the fact it isn't as armoured, then this is your answer. But in all the sense, it's practically the same thing. So there you go. I don't like this though. This just looks to be a little bit overpowered. I've not seen it in combat yet, so I can't confirm what I state. But 150 on the front with a gun that does 300 on average damage in tier 7. That's a lot. I mean, you're in the realms of doing a fair amount of damage to a tier 6 tank. Tier 7s will bump into tier 6, and God forbid you'll bump into a tier 5. It has happened before, so undoubtedly we're going to be seeing stuff like that. Undoubtedly. So it'll be interesting to see how this works out. Definitely be interesting. So, there you go then. And now we come to the more controversial side of this patch. Now, as many of you may know, the German tanks have had their stats changed for the engine power. And some German tanks have actually been edited so that way they can... Sorry, there's a fly right next to the microphone. Get away, get away. There we go. Right, anyway, so as I was saying, basically some of the German tanks have had their statuses changed from being a medium to a heavy. Some of them have been added. There have been new German tanks, so we'll be looking at them in a few minutes. But you know, the Germans have had their statuses changed, and this has caused a bit of controversy. I'm going to do a little background for you guys. When the patch was announced, they were going to be announcing a variety of changes, namely being the engines for the German tanks. For the E75, the original horsepower of the tank was 1200, now it's reverted back to 900. And lots of people were on the forums screaming about it, saying, oh, Wargaming's picking on Germany again. And to be honest with you, I'm on the fence with this one. I can understand where people are coming from, because stuff like the Marder 3, the Marder 2 tank, if any of you guys could ever remember as far back as that, or back before a variety of patches, the Marder 2 was actually a force to be reckoned with in Tier 3 madness. The thing had a good speed, it had a very good, it has a very, it still has a good gun. They haven't taken it away, which is kind of nice of them. But it used to be a lot faster. It used to be so good in combat, and then they nerfed it. I can't remember what was the bit that was terrifying. I think it was just its maneuverability, because beforehand it used to be quite a fast, deadly thing, and I could just drive around with it and have very good games. And I could pop. Who knows? Maybe I'll have a look at it nowadays. Now that there's been a new introduction of the patches, I might grab that thing again and have a look. But it used to be a lot more powerful in a match. Like, if you saw it in a tier tank, you're thinking, oh shit, you're in an Armada, you know, you're facing Armada 2. Or if you were the Armada driver, you're like, ah yeah, tier 3 match, I'm gonna go nom nom, sort of style. But, you know, Wargaming changed that. And this is why, you know, I digress on that. So this is why many people sort of had a go at Wargaming. And there's been a variety of changes to German tanks, and it all seems to be that Russia never gets nerfed or changed. Which I actually haven't seen any major nerfs to Russian tanks. At least I haven't noticed any major nerfs. I haven't paid too much attention beforehand, but now I haven't heard a single thing about Russian tanks being changed. So who knows? Maybe in the future they might be. I don't know. Anyway, I digress. So let's have a look at some of the German tanks. So as many of you may know, German heavy. Now, there's another feature into the German tank tree is actually now German heavies are being introduced at tier 4 to tier 5s, and in fact it goes right the way through now. So if you're on the Panzer Ostif A and you thought, oh, I want to get into the Tiger Leagues, what you want to do is you want to go to this tank, which is the Durchbruchwagen 2. I think I'm saying it right. Durchbruchwagen 2. Or DWB, as it's, you know what I mean, DW2, as it will be, as it says there. I don't think anyone will probably try and pronounce it properly, except for the first time. Let's have a look at this tank. Good God. Oh God. So this thing is not very good. Prototype of a heavy tank built by Heinzel & Son, or Son Company in 38. In September 39. The VK 3001 project was preferred, and the DW program was cancelled. However, DW1 and DW2 periods were used for various trials until 41, so clearly they had something in mind. As you can tell by its boxy shape, it's practically useless for most forms of combat. And unfortunately, the selection of its guns is even worse. Both of these guns are absolutely terrible. Well, actually, no, the L60 is the only good gun. But a tier 4 heavy should not rely on this. I think if we try and compare it to other tier 4 heavies, let's have a look at the French tanks, because that's quite a famous tier 4 heavy. In fact, it's the only tier 4 heavy I think I know. Okay, 47mm. This has just 1mm under, does worse damage. So the French, thankfully, are not as bad. Tier 4 heavies? Are there no tier 4 heavies down here? Russia? No. I think Germany is the only tier 4 heavies. Let's have a look at the Yanks. Yep, no, even the Yanks don't have it. So, yeah, the DW2 doesn't look to be too good with yeah, it doesn't look very good, unfortunately. It looks a bit like a really shitty tank. Oh boy, I'm gonna have to grind through this, by the way. I'm gonna just tell you right now. I'm probably gonna have to drive this thing, because I want to get to this one, but we'll talk about this one now. This is the VK 3001H. This actually used to be a medium tank before the patch. It was actually known for its rather shitey behavior, but the only thing they said it was good for this tank was the fact it was fast. Now it's a heavy, it loses all of that advantage. Let's have a look-see at what it has. It has 600 hit points, which is not bad for a heavy. Not as good as I think the KV-1, but whatever. It weighs 32 tons, 300 horsepower, but you can upgrade it to a 400 horsepower. Oh joy. 35 kVh, 20 traverse speed, that's god-awful. 50 hull armor around, that's very bad. Turret armor, you get 80 on the front, 60 to the sides and rear, so they do upgrade it. But its turret traverse speed is fantastic, but let's face it, that's what the medium was for. View range is good as a KV-1S, and signal range rather shite, but you have the ability of getting a FUG-12. On the other hand, though, looking at its selection of guns, it's not like Wargaming have completely kicked you and left you in the dark, because after the very poor selection of guns here, you are at least given the small mercy of some decent guns here. I mean, once you've upgraded the turret, at least. You can use the L43. It's a very, very poor gun, but you can use it. This is probably... Nah, the L43 is probably the better choice, and then what you can then do is get this gun, and then you can actually spread and try other things. I mean, I've obviously researched through most of this, so that's okay. But for tier 6, for 5, it's... I mean, getting the Koenig gun is actually quite good. This is a tier 7 gun. So I suppose Wargaming aren't that cruel to Germany if you're being given a Tier 7 Koenig gun, and this is a very good gun. So its aiming time is the worst aspect about it, really. Once you've got your target aimed, the time it takes to reload is actually the time that the aiming reticle works, so it kind of works out that way. So that works, I really like that. That's, in a sense, it's not going to be good much for combat, but for a supportive long-distance role, that does a good job. I'm kind of interested in playing that tank now. Ah, yes, the last of the German added-on tanks. In all effects, it's a Panther tank. I don't need to say anything more. This is basically what a Panther would have looked like. This is what a Panther would have had. The hull armor. Let's have a look at the vehicle details. Because they'll talk about it being a prototype to the Panther tank. The Daimler-Benz completing the project, 42. Ministry of Armaments, man was preferred, eventually into the service as the Panzerkampf Panther, which is basically that. If you ever want to find out what this is the thing which I think, in a sense, Wargaming have answered the argument so long ago, because for a long time there has been a major clamour for the Panther tank to just be moved down to Tier 6, because the Panther tank just underperforms at Tier 7. It's not really a Tier 7 tank, it really should be at Tier 6. But for some reason Wargaming, instead of moving the Panther down south, they've just put another one in its place. So in all effects, that is now here, just in another form. You've got the L70, for which this tank will work rather well at. You've got a decent engine, a decent tracks, decent turret, all inclusive. You know, it's all good. It is all good. This is basically a Panther tank, and it's very good for that reason. It was one of the more successful German tanks. Just why didn't they? I mean, okay, I propose to you this, good people. What about if the Panther is moved down to Tier 6, the Panther 2 goes to Tier 7, maybe it loses a decent... Actually, in fact, you could keep the L71, maybe even keep the L100... No, yeah, keep the L71 at Tier 7, right? So that's down at Tier 7, and then they put some other magical tank in between Tier 8 and 9, and Bob's your uncle sorted. Hell, you could put the bloody VK... Oh, no, you can't put the VK. But, you know, you could put something else there. I mean, that just makes a hell of a lot more sense than to go through the Panther 1 to a Panther, again, which has a very poor selection of guns and is generally known to be one of the worst medium tanks in the game, which is a real shame. There's Wargaming for you. Well, I guess it now is the worst medium tank in the game, especially considering the fact that now that's a heavy. So yeah, there's some of the tech changes for you, but there is one. Well, there's a few more, but now we're going on to the ones that I currently have in my garage, barring the Tiger 2. So this is the VK361H, which is now a heavy tank, and to all intents and purposes, it hasn't actually changed that much. The selection of guns that you have are practically the same. The engine choices, I think they've reverted it back down to 500 because of that, or they've changed the weight of it, I believe. I can't remember exactly what they've done, but they must have done some. They basically changed the engine power, so you can't go as fast. But that said, they've actually buffed the engine speed a bit, I think, or not. I can't remember now. But the tank doesn't feel like it's any slower than it used to be. Maybe it wasn't as fast off the beat, but now it still works pretty well. The only downside, you could say, the only ways that they've completely killed off the medium side of it is the fact that your oh, I actually went onto there. Is the fact that your original turret, this one, now is just at 24. It used to be at 42, but now it's at 24. I think they've just changed. Yeah, they've changed the turrets, so now this thing has to be on that. So the traverse speed, you have to upgrade in order to have the most health, because, you know, it's no longer a medium tank, which is a shame, but what can you do? That's how it was designed. That's now how it is, and in all sense, it actually works quite well as a heavy tank. You know, I've had a few games in this already, and it's looking pretty good. But on the second video, we'll go into further details about that. For the Tiger, I've yet to play this tank, so it'll be intriguing to see how she performs. But in all sense, you know, she's had hers. I think she's actually been apparently buffed too. Not by much. I think this is the most buffed of the tanks, because the traversity speed means that she can now probably go way faster than she used to, and you know, obviously she can't go. She probably doesn't have as much of an engine boost, and her acceleration may not be so fantastic, but she might be quite nimble. And given perks and all, she may be even going faster than we realise. So there's something to look forward to. Now, I don't have the Tiger 2, I know, boo-hoo, I should have kept it, but at the time I didn't know about the patch, so I didn't think I needed it anymore, because at that time I was about to get the IS-3, when all of a sudden a bunch of other impressive tanks came along, Jagdpanzer, American tanks, all that jazz, so I decided to use the money on that. I will, however, in the future, grab it again, and I will have a look at it to see whether it's changed or not since patch 8.8, so I will do that. And finally, the most controversial of which, the E75. Now, for any of you guys out there who've played the E75, you'll no doubt know what I'm talking about when you probably were pissed off when they were changing the engine power. For any of you guys out there who don't drive the heavy E75 or haven't really gone up the German line, when you first get the E75, you're like a Tog or a Churchill. Very slow, you have to plan where you've got to go, and if not, you could easily be surrounded by other tanks and can easily die. So, obviously, the first call of action was actually to upgrade your engine more than anything else. I mean, yes, the gun, the L68, which underperforms at tier 9 games, although, I mean, it doesn't do great, but it doesn't do fantastic. So the tier 10 gun you wanted that gun. It was the most amazing thing in creation. But the engine, you know, around here, the engine that was originally here, which delivered 1200 horsepower, made it so much easier to use this thing. Oh my god, I used to have such bad games in this thing, simply because I couldn't arrive at the destination fast enough. So obviously after spending a good portion of my time trying to get the bloody thing to work, I eventually got the engine, and I was so thrilled. I was like, yes, finally! And then about 2 weeks later, I was told the engine was having the D75 was having its engine cut back. I was fuming, mainly because I felt like I had wasted my time, because it was 50,000 experience points to get there. It's a lot of research. I mean, 50,000. I could have spent that getting on the turret, getting on the tracks. You know, I mean, I wanted to get the engine, and I didn't actually. I focused on the engine more than I got on the gun. So I actually thought I could have wasted so much of my time. I could have just got the gun, had a fair amount of crap matches, but then do well afterwards. You know, so it was immensely frustrating when I was told about that. But then after a while, after I cooled myself down, I looked on the various websites. Well, I looked on a couple of things. I mainly researched via YouTube because it's a little easier. It's, you know, when you go into the forums, it can become so confusing trying to find the right one. Because most of the forums are done by personal perspectives, so it's difficult to kind of look at it and from an objective perspective, because I wanted to have a pure, clean perspective. And to all intents and purposes, having played the damn tank for a few games, I'm not going to say much because that's going to be something for else, but I'm on the fence with this one, with this whole nerfing business. I personally don't agree with some aspects of how Wargaming treat the German tanks, but at the same time, on this occasion, it seems to be they've done it as fairly balanced as possible. Okay, it's not entirely 100% balanced because the L-56 would take most Shermans down in one shot, but, you know, that's another tale. But yeah, so generally speaking, I think the German heavy tanks have been changed maybe for the better, but we'll go into further details in the following video. Either way, it's kind of out of my hands with this one. Yeah, it's out of my hands on this one, I think, because there's little to no... there's nothing really I can else say about it without kind of spoiling what's going to be happening in the second video. So, on this pretense, I will say, I'll say that this is a spot to watch on. I mean, whilst we're on the subject of stuff like, you know, nerfing and all that, I don't know. I just feel sometimes that Germany does get a bit nerfed. It's something which bugs me at times because you know, being interested in World War II history and looking into the subjects of looking into the military side of Germany, Germany were very advanced on lots of aspects of combat. So it's disappointing to see that they're not really being fully shown for their technical and combative worth. But, you know, unfortunately, game designers will be game designers, Russians will be Russians because, well, nothing against Russians, but they're very proud, put it that way. They're very proud of what they've done, to the point of where they will actually be quite arrogant about it. Just saying. Anyway, so that's about it for the first impressions part of the talky side of the first impressions. Oh, quick note, just forgot, I nearly forgot. You can't do anything with your barracks for some reason. I think this is a glitch, but you cannot do anything with your barracks at the moment. No idea why. I think this is a glitch, so keep your eyes peeled for a patch. I'm sure it will be fixed at some point, but at the moment we can't access anything with our barracks. So don't send any of your tank crews to barracks if you think you're going to use them at some point. Alright, so with that warning I said out of the way, thank you very much for watching the talky part of this video. Well, talky video. Hope you've enjoyed. Hope you found it very informative. If you like this kind of content, feel free to let me know by putting it in the comments section down below. Also, by typing it up, either by putting it on, kicking the like button. Yeah, kicking, not clicking, kicking. Get your boot out, smash your screen open to ensure that you kick the like button. Follow those instructions. I wonder how many people will try that. And finally, you can go for a subscription if you like it enough to subscribe. Thank you so much for doing so. I recently got over 100 subscribers. Jesus Christ, I did not realize I'd get that many. I need to do something, but I'm not sure what to do. So I'll do something. I'm certain to do something. But apart from that, thank you very much for watching. This is Crap Hunter signing out. Catch you in the next one, guys.